Live.
Are we though? Are we really? Because last time it said that too.
Yeah,
Doesn't look like we're going live.
Live. Wait, we are live.
We are live?
We are live.
Yay! I was so nervous.
I
Okay.
was too.
Alright, refresh that one so we can see. Hi guys!
Yeah.
We thought that it was doing the same thing it did the other night.
Yeah.
Technically it did do
It
the same
did
thing
just
the
for
other
a
night.
second.
But just for a second. Now that we're online, it probably should stay fine.
Should stay
Because
fine.
it looks like what people are
Wait,
having trouble
we
with
are
is connecting. Like, I don't
We
think
are
we'll go
live.
randomly offline. It's just
I
naturally connecting in the
was
first
too.
place.
Alright.
Let me turn my computer off.
live.
I'm so nervous. Technically it did.
It did just for a second.
So,
hi everybody.
What's up?
Should stay. Going to give everybody just a couple of seconds to
Right.
file in and get comfy. Everybody in the chat, if you can't see us,
Only 1 minute late.
yeah, we're fine. Everybody in the chat, if you can't see us, hey.
Maniac Marie is also watching. Wow.
See, my laptop says. Oh, there it is. There we go. We're live. It's fine. Okay, so.
This is not episode 200. Let's get rid of
No.
that. No, we recorded episode 200
Yeah,
last night. We still
yes.
gotta edit that fucker.
We're going to talk all about that in just a
Hey,
second.
hey, it's Bella's watching.
See,
it's
my
Val.
hi.
There we
So
go.
we're
live.
first of
It's
all,
Okay.
let me apologize because
You might
I.
want to mute the stream on y'all's end.
Let's get rid of
No.
No, we recorded episode 200 last
I don't
night.
understand.
Oh, you have it in the background,
we're gonna
honey.
talk all Son of
about
a
that in
bitch
just a second.
bastard.
Hey, it's Bella's
Yep.
watching. Because we were checking to see if it was live.
Oh, I didn't know that
We're
was
the worst. Because it's only playing through headphones. I only barely heard it.
Yeah. Okay.
We are the worst at this. Glad that the thing won't pick that up because
No.
Audacity will not pick it up.
No, Audacity won't. So, okay, it's good now. It's good. Firstly, let me apologize because I look like a garbage fire. Last night was taxing,
Yeah.
to say the
that-
least.
If anyone was on my Twitter, they saw at 7:30 a.m. I decided that it was time for reheated McDonald's for
Yeah.
breakfast, but then I went to sleep. It's been a tough few days, guys.
It has.
Things are hard.
So everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Last night, we recorded the very last thing for episode 200. Episode 200 is going to be massive. I don't know how long it's going to be. I'm talking about...
Half of the recording is 8 hours long. Then the other half, I believe, is 6 to 7 hours long.
But again, after editing, it
But
won't
after
be
editing,
nearly
it will
that.
not be nearly that long. So
Um,
that's all the breaks, all the technical issues, and there were quite a few.
Good Lord,
Like
yeah.
fucking, yeah.
The first time we went to sit down to record one of the bits of episode 200, I think an hour of it is actually like role play,
Right.
and then the other hour is waiting to see if internet issues resolved and stuff. And then we took breaks last night because we needed to. And we're going to
Yeah.
talk all about that. But firstly, I want to give a huge shout out to every single person on the cast because holy shit. Like I said, Bree just said last night was about 7-8 hours of solid, just like let's
solid
sit in a call
recording.
and let's fucking
I
do
think
this.
we took like 5 half-hour breaks because it was
Yeah.
so tense and everyone was nervous. We had to keep going.
Yeah,
That's what I do when we go on breaks. The entire like 30 minutes, I'm just doing that.
dude, it's a lot. And we're going to be working for the next 2 weeks. So Monday, you're going to get episode 199, which is a surprise for those of you who listen. Do you want to give that away?
Sure, they showed up.
They
like,
showed up, guys.
You 46 people showed up.
46,
to this,
so
and that is
thank
fucking
you.
fantastic.
You're getting one last DRP. One
Yeah.
last one. Everyone
They
from
all
DRP.
sat down. We've also, it's actually not mentioned in the Patreon portion, so I'm going to say right here, we are also reworking DRP to happen more often.
Yeah.
Essentially, you know, we want to throw it in there more. We don't want to put it as a reward tier, because first of all, you fall under those tiers and then you're heartbroken.
Yes.
Second of all, DRP wants to play, so why should we stop them?
Exactly. So we're going to be reworking all the milestone stuff, and we can get into that when we get into the Patreon portion of this. But again, thank you, everybody on the cast. You guys have done an amazing job for 200 episodes. So episode 199 will be going up Monday, and then we're going to do our live
GMT.
episode 100 of GMT Spectacular. That's going in the feed. And then a week after that...
If you don't want to miss that, make sure to follow us on Twitch, because we're going to be doing that live next Friday.
Yes.
Because Saturday, Alex and Ian are coming down, and we're going to fucking party.
Yeah, dude.
We were going to party last night, but we fell asleep instead.
I fell asleep at like 4 or 5 in the morning, something like that. It was
I fell asleep at like
no
10,
alcohol.
11 in the morning.
No alcohol, Brie.
We didn't have any alcohol. We watched a really... Okay, I know that you guys are here to hear about Dungeons & Randomness and how we're going to move forward, but we started watching the best horror movie I have ever seen in my fucking life, and that shit is going on the Rod of Wonder. We only watched the first half. That shit is going on the Rod of Wonder.
Yeah, it's pretty... Yeah. So tonight...
There's a snake with eyelashes in a horror movie.
And on a pompadour.
And a
that
pompadour.
snake was a greaser. That snake was a tunnel snake.
It was
That's
a
what it
tunnel
was.
snake.
Anyway.
If you can guess what movie we're talking about, you get a special award.
Yeah. So...
Hey, 50 people are here.
Good Lord.
Hi, you guys. All right, let's move
we're going to get
forward
ready
with
and break
this.
this down. Thank you again for showing up. Thank
Let's
you.
move forward with it.
I'm going to just stop. So, the first thing is first. Episode 200, if you didn't know, will mark the last episode in this arc. So, essentially, what we did was try to wrap things up. Obviously, not all storylines are good. There's just too much. But
Right.
it kind of puts a nice little button on what we've been telling a story from episode 1 all the way to 200. That's a nice big arc. That's
Yes.
And we kind of started calling it a season after a while, but it's not quite a season because we're not a televised show. Podcasts don't work like that. So
Everyone's impressed by the fancy graphics. I worked really hard on this. Anyway. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, not at all. We've been busting our ass trying to make sure that we take in all of your survey responses, and obviously we knew we wanted to change some things, and we knew that you guys had complaints about certain things and issues and all that stuff, and we wanted to make sure we got all that in and change the stuff we needed to. So.
Right.
The new arc is going to start probably a couple of months from now, somewhere in there. We don't exactly know when.
All these changes we're going to be implementing, we're going to talk about in a bit. That's going to take time to do. We do have content to fill up the time. We have a bunch of ideas for what's going to happen next month. We'll tell you at the end of the stream, probably. Yeah. And we have some stuff that might follow that if it works out. Either way, the feed should not be dead. It is going to get content.
Yeah. And we're prepping a bunch of new shows and stuff. So while we're getting all that ready, yeah, there will be stuff. Kind of a nice retrospective cool down. It'll allow people to catch up. So we're going to be starting with a new episode 1, technically.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing.
What this new arc means to you.
Yeah. Now we're going to break this down piece by piece because we have gotten a ton of questions. As soon as we said a new episode 1, we've gotten about 50 emails. It's like, wait. Because a lot of people don't listen to GMT or hear the newsletter on Patreon and all that. So that's why we're here today. So, firstly, Theria is not being wiped clean. We're not starting completely fresh. Theria, as a whole, will exist as it always has. Everything that's happened from episode 1 to 200 still counts. We're keeping that same continuity. The only thing we're doing is we're probably going to jump forward in time a little bit, and we're also providing a new jump-on point for listeners.
Right.
Just if you've kind of fallen off, we just had someone post on the fan page. It's like, I fell off around episode 130. What's all this stuff?
It's really hard to catch back up, and you feel left out. So this is a good place that's like, hey, do you want to watch the show with me, and you don't really care if you miss some of the history?
Yeah.
Go ahead and just start on this new episode 1.
Yep.
But if you do care about the history, but you still don't want to listen to the other fucking 200 episodes.
We are currently writing a script, and I have it. It's over there. Yeah, the first half. We are doing a huge audio recap episode, probably going to be around 3.5 hours long, something like that. And it's going to...
Alright, for those of you listening at home who aren't seeing the fucking...
I didn't read it because I already know.
The Prezi, I put at the bottom, don't worry, we're not going to Mass Effect it when we talk about jumping forward in the future. Because, as you guys know, Mass Effect Andromeda takes place so far in the future that none of your choices really mattered. And then people in the chat are like, burn!
Just like the ending of 3. That's it.
Yeah.
None of your choices really mattered. Thank you for investing 200 hours in this. So I'm sorry. I'm still a little. So
we're not doing that.
We're not doing that.
It's going to be within a time period that a lot of the characters, like basically all the characters that are still around after episode 200 are still going to be around in episode 1 of the new series.
Yeah, and we're going to try to tell it in like a story style. So we're writing a script now. I did a bunch of bullet point stuff. Bree's writing the long form of it. So it is a script that's going to follow the main adventures of all the groups, all the big story stuff. That being said, and at the front of this recap episode, we're going to mention it too, there will be stuff that gets glazed over because it's only going to be about 3 hours long,
Right.
and we're trying to encompass 500 hours.
I'm going to straight up be honest with you guys. There are entire characters that are not mentioned, and I mean PCs that are not mentioned. A ton of NPCs aren't mentioned.
Most NPCs.
Most NPCs. I think 3 of them are. But, like, a lot of... Not a lot. I think 3 PCs have not been mentioned, and it's mostly just because we can't mention all of them and make it tie into the big narrative. Because what we did is we sat down and we asked ourselves, does this affect Season 2? Like, does it affect anything that happened in Arc 1? If it does, it goes in.
Yeah.
Beyond that, we can't predict what's going to affect Season 2 so much. Like, we can't say, oh, we know that blank character is going to play a role in the next season. Because we don't know what's going to happen in the next season. We can only do what affected the main story of Arc 1.
Yeah.
So that's why some characters are left out. Like, you know, yeah.
Dirtbag.
People are saying, hey, Karen, in the chat. I think I mentioned both of Karen's characters, actually, because they did matter in the grand scheme
that's
of
the thing,
plot.
though. And okay. In terms, I always do this. Dirthag doesn't get mentioned a bunch. Ironhide does, because Ironhide impacted the main story.
I don't even think Dirthag is mentioned.
I don't think he is, because he basically shows up, does some stuff, dies.
And then dies.
So, like,
Yeah.
none of that matters. Whereas Karen's first 2 characters do get mentioned because they are impactful to the plot and telling the story
Right.
of what happened to G4 and how they got to where they are now. That is important. Those steps mean
Those 2
something.
characters mattered in the way that Group 4 thought about future events.
Yes.
The one that I think is going to upset people the most, and I'll tell you right now, is I don't believe Hondo is going to be mentioned. Hondo did matter as a character. He was a good character. He was fucking solid as shit. He affected Diana in ways that, like, affected her playing. But he didn't directly affect the story the way that both of Karen's characters, though shorter lived, affected Group 4.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the big one. Hondo is the big one that I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna catch some shit for that one. But like,
well, we can't jam it all in there. And
Exactly.
the way we started out the recaps, they were going to be video recaps. Xavier was working on us, and there's even like a animatic for that. And that was going to be before we even knew that there was going to be an episode 200, and that's where we're going to end it and stuff like that before Dragon Con. That was the idea. It's like, hey, this will help catch people up because we have comic book continuity now. Not many people want to sit down and listen to 500 hours of us do this. And if any of you out there are listeners and you have tried to say, hey, you should really get into this show because of this, and they take one look at it and go,
ooh, that's a lot of time and effort.
Nope. They get to episode 1 and it's 8 hours long. No
We've
fucking
talked on
way.
GMT about how like we don't get into shows that have over like 3 seasons because at that point it's so hard to catch up. Can you imagine what it's like if it were 200 episodes?
If I had a job like I used to have, where it's like I work in a warehouse for 12 hours a night and like I'm just left by myself, yeah, absolutely, sure. I could cleave through that in a few months. Awesome. But I don't, and most people don't. And even if you have a long commute, it would, it's ridiculous. So, big recap. Starting over at episode 1, this is the perfect time. What we want to do is we want to spread this podcast like an infection and just get people to listen to it who have never had a chance to hear it before. So, that's our plan for the recap.
Another big change. We are probably like 99.99% sure that we are moving to 3 groups again.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean any group is being axed. We are actually mixing up all of the characters to create 3 groups, which means like you might see 2 characters that have never interacted before interact with one another, and now they are in this new group. Some characters are going to be retired. Realistically speaking, they're fucking done. Like, that's not, like, Jason and I still have to sit down with every single character who survived episode 200. and like talk about where they're going to go from here if they survived episode 200. And what's going to happen with their characters if they want to retire, if they want to continue adventuring, if they like. There's a lot of things that they could do with any of the surviving characters.
Yep.
Do you like how I worded that like 3 times?
Yeah. Episode 200 is big.
Is big.
Is big.
All right. So this is actually straight from the
surveys.
survey.
Yeah.
I slipped these in whenever I could, but a lot of them were just like you guys writing how you feel.
Yeah.
This is one of the few where it's like, do you listen to GMT? 83% of listeners said yes.
Yep.
And then I asked, if Good Morning Theria were on its separate feed, would you subscribe to it? About 78% said yes.
Yeah.
So, GMT is on its new feed. Go subscribe. It's not going to be cluttering up the main feed anymore. We've talked about this a bunch, but I decided it needed its own slide. I'm really proud of that logo I made, so fuck it.
The only thing, God, I look so miserable in everything I ever have, like, picture-wise.
Do you want me to flip over your mouth so you look happy? Because I could do that.
I don't think that'll make me look happy. I think I'll look perplexed. I don't think that'll, fix it. Just, it looked like I'm farting in the
try.
picture or something like that. GMT, home of farts. Like, it just doesn't work. Anyway.
I could draw a little smiley on it, like with red highlighter.
Yeah, there are 2 main feeds now. Obviously, DNR as itself is just going to be the show and things related to the show specifically. Now, GMT is just going to be Good Morning Theria, and it's the same show. It's just in its own feed, and that'll be starting episode 101. GMT 100 is the last one that'll appear in the DNR feed, and then it's its own little baby bird. It's going to fly, and we'll see.
Fly off, and we'll see what happens. It's mostly just for fun, so we're not that like.
No, it's not what we
brokenhearted
base our
if it doesn't
living
pick
off of.
But like, eventually GMTs will disappear from the main feed. We don't know when. We'll definitely give you guys warning, and then it's just gonna go into an archive that we're probably just gonna put on Patreon for $1, and you can just access it forever.
Yep.
So that if you really want those first 100 episodes, you can just grab them, but it's not worth it to try to spend the hours of fucking time and the quite a bit of money we'd have to spend to upload all of those onto the new feed.
Oh, an insane amount,
Insane
because
amount.
the average GMT is about an hour and a half-ish. Multiply that by 100, and you can start to see what bandwidth costs are going to be like. So, a lot of people mentioned in the surveys like, it's just there's too many GMTs, or there's too. We've seen that in reviews and stuff. It's like, okay, well, that's its own thing. It doesn't have anything to do with Theria technically, except that it's me and Bree who.
And for the time, it was kind of a thing where it's like we promised Monday content every Monday. GMT was a good way to, like, if we really needed it, we could rely on it. But we looked back, and we haven't relied on GMT for Monday content for about 6 months.
Yeah.
More than that, probably.
Whenever we're getting ready for a huge crossover, or
we're going to use it one more time in 2 weeks.
And that's
but besides that, we haven't used it in so long that it seemed kind of silly to, like, keep it in the main feed.
We could submit it to Stitcher. I think I did that with the old. I think I did it with the DNR feed a long time ago. But yeah, that's something we could look into. Or Spotify's another one that people have been requesting.
So that, send an email to GMT so that we remember, and we will try to get it up there on Stitcher.
Yeah.
Another thing for the new show.
We are gutting our music library. Everything gone. We're starting fresh. Brand new music, brand new sound effects, lots of new Foley stuff, because that's something that me and Bree miss doing. It's when we get a chance to do it on the show, it's fun. It's creating a new, like, monster sound, roar.
Dude, that's so much fun.
Let's say a PC gets shredded by, let's say, a werewolf, something like that.
Lettuce.
Those sounds are fun to create, and we miss doing it. And just having a brand new soundtrack starting from scratch. We've been using. I mean, if you go back and listen to episode 1, the music and sound has changed dramatically over the years.
We don't use so much recognizable music from Skyrim.
No, and that's sometimes it's a shout out. It's like someone's battling a dragon. Every once in a while, it's like
that's cool.
Fuck it, yeah, Dovahkiin.
I remember when I first started editing episodes. During one of the stingers, I put music from Porco Rosso that I thought for sure no one recognized. I got like 6 emails that were like Porco Rosso, and I was like, oh. First of all, other people like that movie? I thought most people hated it.
Back when there were like 20 people listening to the show, it was a lot easier to slip in like, this is from Mass Effect, and just kind of have it in the background because it's soothing. When you have tens of thousands of people, it's a little harder to slip that past a lot of nerds. Because you guys, if I were listening to a show and I heard it, it's like, That's fucking Diablo 2. I
Yeah.
know that. I'd probably say something because
It's probably not anger. It's more
no,
like,
it's
"Ha-ha."
not. It's like I
don't
know
think-
that.
I
Like
don't think
it's excitement
I
usually.
actually did like the people who pointed out that it was Porco Rosso. That made me smile.
Yeah. So we are going to be gutting the music library, starting from scratch. That's one of the big things we're doing in the off season. Is just the whole new production value, and working very hard on that. So, one of the things that we did ask in the survey, and a lot of people weren't crazy excited about.
I have the graph in the next one.
Do you?
So,
Okay,
yeah.
so we'll move on 1 second. Backing down to 3 groups. There's a big reason for this. One, it allows us to pay more attention to episodes. The
Yep.
extra audio work, Foley work, and stuff we were just talking about. It allows us to really kind of sand down some of the rougher edges on episodes and make it sound better. Kind of create soundscapes, things in nature, things in like forests or dungeons
Yes.
or stuff like that, and kind of bring you into it. And you
Yeah.
might not even notice it at first, but it's one of those things, especially if you're wearing headphones, it does make a difference. It does matter.
Right.
So 3 groups is going to mean probably 3 episodes a
Right.
month for the foreseeable future.
It's also going to help us a little bit. Like, we didn't really talk about this much, but
No.
I'm sure it will. One of the things that was talked about, and we'll touch upon that later, is pacing issues on this show. And 3 groups will help us take care of the timeline easier and help move things along faster and at like a better pace. And that's
Yeah.
something that's going to come later in the presentation. But essentially, yeah, 3 episodes a month
Yep.
is what we're going to do for the foreseeable future. But don't worry, because look at that little arrow.
Look at that.
A new show is going to be added to the feed. As you can see by the little graph, I only did one of them. I didn't do the second one.
No, that's fine.
We wanted to do a show that would be kind of a Talking Dead style show with the cast live here on Twitch. And a lot of you guys said you were interested. It's like 95% of you said that you were interested in that. If I had the other graph up, and I guess I could release it on Twitter or
Yeah.
something, I just didn't put it in because I wanted to only have one thing.
Right.
Fewer of you said that you would like that to replace an episode a month. Like, I think it was 70%.
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
It was like,
still
oh,
the
I'm
majority.
interested in it, but I also want that 4th episode.
Right,
It's-
and that
it's
totally makes sense. And
Right.
we understand why you guys feel that way. A lot of comments of, like, I wish there were more.
Mm-hmm.
A few comments of, I wish there were less because we can't keep up. But essentially, we're going to add a show to the feed. It's going to be the final Friday each month, or the 4th Friday each month.
Yep.
And it's going to be called Extended Rest. It's going to focus on the episodes that were posted that month with members of the cast who are available for those episodes. Like, it's going to take a lot of arranging on our part, but it's going to be kind of like an in-depth character chat, like what we do on Patreon,
Yeah.
but with full groups.
Okay, I've been doing the character chats. And I've got to sit down with a lot of the cast. I've been doing it for over a year now, and something I'm finding out as I'm doing it is there are big moments that happen on the show that are taken completely out of context by people. They're kind of misinterpreted or something like that, and then you get to sit down with the person playing that character. It's like, actually, I was going for this.
Yeah.
Extended Rest allows us to sit and let's say James does something huge as Dagon at some point, and we get to sit and talk about that. Like, there was kind of a big thing with the Eladrin not that long ago. We get to sit and talk. It's like, well, how did you feel doing this? And it's in real time. It's at the end of that month as the episodes are released.
And it is a good way for you guys to, like, if you are one of those people who can't listen to 3 episodes a month, it's a good way of, like, oh, I missed 2 this month. I can listen to Extended Rest and kind of get the gist of what was happening, if that's what you want to do. I know a lot of people won't do that.
No.
But it's an option.
But it is a nice way to kind of talk about things live. It's going to be a live thing on Twitch, so we get to think of it as a live version of the forums. If you don't get to jump on the
Right.
forums and stuff, you get to talk to the cast, ask them questions as things are happening. Thank you, Brian. That's very nice. And we get to talk about the story as it's unfolding and digest
Right.
it. There are times where I'm playing an NPC, and it would be nice to talk about, like, the Eladrin thing we were just talking about. It'd be nice to go, okay, but you talked to
Just say
one
the
Eladrin.
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talked to one Eladrin. Not all of them. They're not all racist dickbags. You just
Talk to one.
Darmok does not represent all tieflings.
And that's
So
something that we've had a problem with that from day one.
Yeah,
Like,
that's just the
Ironhide
thing.
represented all Warforged, and then fucking
That's the
just
thing.
kept going and going. Jadzia, for instance, thought that Darmok represented all tieflings, and
Yeah.
that led to some shit. And now she's married to one,
My potato
and they're
salad.
having a baby. Yeah, go right ahead.
Thank you.
We're talking a lot, so you can have some of that. So, That's going to be called Extended Rest, just in
Yep.
case we didn't say it for the people who are listening at home, because I have to keep
Yeah.
reminding us that some
I think
people
you did
aren't
say it.
seeing the thing. Yes. So, we're going to do that, and it should be really cool. We're really excited about it, and...
It's kind of a whole new thing, and
Oh, no.
yeah, it's a chance for people to talk about their characters again in real time and do something that
Yeah.
we haven't really had a chance to do. We used to do occasional mailbags, but it wasn't the same. This will be a monthly show, so you're guaranteed 12 of them each year, and it will give a chance for people who are catching up too to go, oh, cool. It will not get its own feed.
No.
That is going to be Monday content. The fourth week
Of each
and
month.
yeah,
So that we can do the first 3 episodes, and then the Monday content will be recorded the Friday before that Monday. It's not going to be super heavily edited. There might be some background music, maybe, just to make it more interesting.
yeah,
But it's going to be live and kind of like what we're doing right now, except without the presentation. So the people listening at home, don't worry about you missing
right.
Andromeda jokes or anything. Or cute little musical dragons. Patreon changes. We're going to go through these really quickly because
Yeah.
we know you guys are fucking sick of it, but we really want to talk about these. We've completely adjusted our tier system based on your feedback. A lot of people said that they wish there were more tiers. So, $1 tier. You are still getting the fortnightly newsletter,
Yep.
the behind-the-scenes content, and the blooper reel.
Yep.
And also, eventually, you'll get the GMT archive.
Yeah.
do
For
that.
those of you who don't know anything about our Patreon, you just haven't really heard us talk about specifics of what it is. Fortnightly newsletter is just us every 2 weeks sitting down talking about everything that's going on in DNR right now. Those of you who are on Patreon and listen to it are going to get a lot of stuff about changes coming in the show, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. But
Yep.
you're going to hear a lot about that transition
That's
behind the
gonna be a
scenes. Behind the scenes content is anything cut from a show that is like us getting ready, us talking, us. It's usually like not private conversations, but it's us just like goofing around, screwing around, like, oh, look at this link, like, and it's or things that get cut from the show that are like bloopers, that type of thing. Stuff that's cut for time every once in a while. That's kind of rare, but I'm guessing
Right.
200 is going to have.
Probably a lot of that.
Yeah.
Honestly, the behind the scenes, I throw up like the mid break. I throw in the beginning part if there is any to throw in, and yeah, there's a lot of Mac fighting everyone.
Yes.
Like he just fucking picks up his fists and he punches his mic, which
Yeah.
is weird because that's really only punishing him. Anyway.
Well, Mac also shouts, "This is you. This is you." While,
Yeah,
while doing
while
it.
punching
It's
the
weird.
mic, but it's still like
Yeah,
now you know
but
why
that's-
Mac's sound quality sucks so much.
Yeah, that's right. In the $5 tier,
Yes.
we're starting. We talked about this in the newsletter. We're starting a Discord server because one of the things that you guys suggested in the surveys was you want to be able to talk to us in real time a little more and
Yes.
be able to communicate with us. And there is a Discord server. Somewhere, I think it's on the forums and stuff. This is just for Patreon people, like
Yeah.
this entire thing.
And we're
so,
going to be in it
Yep.
pretty often. We're going to set it up so that once a month we have an actual like sit down, get on the Discord server and talk.
Yep.
But other than that, on Discord you can also type. So Jason and I will be on there a bunch, like responding to you guys through text if you have any questions or anything like that. Jason already responds on Facebook constantly and emails constantly, and he'll probably be the one responding to you in Discord, to be honest. But like, I'll look. I'll be around,
Lurking.
lurking.
Mailbags were another thing that you guys asked for, and we didn't want to start putting up a bunch of stuff in the feed, so we're like, okay, we'll do a monthly mailbag with random members of the cast, like get 2 or 3 or 4 people in there, tell you who's going to be on, and say, hey, these people are going to be on. Do you want to ask them some questions while they're here? So these are going to be just kind of like probably hour-long things, something like that, where
Yeah.
we're just going to talk for a little bit and answer some questions and do mailbaggy type stuff. And it'll be like we used to do them in the old days. We just stopped kind of having time for them. But now we're just going to throw them up on Patreon.
And then we have the improved Wad of Wonder. Just look at it now. This is what it is. Eventually we're going to throw up that movie we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
Fuck it, fine. The Last Airbender movie, Resident Evil Extinction, Fantastic Four, the original movie, Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, Minions, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, Pokemon the movie, Cocoon of Destruction, Shrek the Musical, King Arthur, Ghost Rider, Sky High, Pirates of the Caribbean, Hellboy, Star Wars A New Hope, Inuyasha the Movie, Affections Touching Across Time, The Prestige, Silent Hill. Oh, we have to change that one. We did Silent Hill already.
Silent Hill 2.
Now it's Silent Hill 2, and it's going to move up. Dusk Till Dawn, Tombstone, and The Princess Bride. There you go. I feel bad for the people at home.
No,
That's the only thing.
No, that's why we're doing this.
For the people listening, I wanted them to know what was in the thing.
Yep.
But anyone else, you could just read it right now if you wanted.
And yeah, the entire point is there's some good movies in there. Obviously, everything 11 down, you start getting, it's like, oh, these are actually pretty decent. It ranges from pretty decent to like, oh, holy shit, that's a classic, or I gotta say, Star Wars, obviously, come
there
on.
There are already people in the chat talking about Tombstone and how great it is.
I love Tombstone,
I watched
dude.
it on Christmas, and it was
a couple of weeks
great.
because of y'all talking about it. So good. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, that's so sweet. We decided together that Crit Hit was Princess Bride, because that's a great movie.
Everyone loves The Princess Bride.
Like, we'll keep replacing it with things. Like, I'm sure eventually The Last Unicorn could replace a good movie, and, like, you know, things that we love. Moving on. $10 tier. Living in Theria is going to, I think, actually move down to there.
Yep.
Because it was the $15 tier before. And we're coming up with a new show called The Middle Ground.
So one thing, again, we're reworking all the milestones, because what we would do is we get to something like, let's say, Loving in Theria 2, and everyone would go, oh, cool, we're there, and then we drop $150 and be far away, and it feels like a dollar bill in a string. It makes people feel defeated. It does.
Right.
You go to the trouble, everyone's fucking pitching in, and we unlock something really cool, and then it's like, One of the things we got was the return of like a DM seminar, like a mini series.
Yes.
And people really like to ask questions for both as a DM perspective and a player perspective, and get help with their games and all that. So we came up with the concept of The Middle Ground, which is a show that's going to take your questions, you write in, and I'm going to be answering them from a DM's perspective and prepping. Bree will be answering them from a player's perspective.
Exactly.
And we might even have guests on from time to time and just talk about these things. And
Yep.
Hopefully we help you with your games, or just...
Because a lot of questions that we get are based specifically on situations, like my player's doing this and my DM's doing this, things like that, and they go into GMT, and then it's kind of weird that we're answering Theria-related questions or D&D-related questions on GMT. This is going to be a place where I think we said like once every episode we'd take like a personal situation, like tell us what's wrong with your game and we'll try to fix it.
Yep.
But then also we'll take random questions like how do I get a game started and things like that and answer those questions. And there is a picture of Picard and Riker here because I am number one.
You can see the sexual tension in that
really,
picture.
though?
Like on Riker's side. It's completely on Riker's side. It always is.
No.
Oh, no. Picard is a
very sexual man.
Yeah, but not for Riker. I don't think Riker's his type. Like,
I don't,
it's always anybody who sits in a chair like him is like, ew. Like, I don't think you would look at it like Riker's always kind of looking. It's like it's always kind of like. Just kind of like looming and breathing all over, just puffing his chest out. It's just, I don't know.
Riker just wants to fuck everyone on that ship,
I think
though.
so.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Except for Wesley. No one liked
No
Wesley.
one wants to fuck him. He's also underage, so probably not.
Oh my god. The $15 tier, which used to just be, it was Living in Theria, character chats, Living in Theria, and the Rod of Wonder commentaries and stuff.
So those went down.
Yeah, so we're kind of rearranging everything. So no matter where you get on Patreon, you'll get a bunch of stuff.
Right.
We're adding a bunch of new shows, as you can see, because we want anybody who deems it necessary or wants to support us. We're so fucking happy about that because we get to do this for a living and present stuff to you guys, and it's amazing. So thank you. So we want to make sure we give you guys the maximum amount of effort. Character chats are staying the same. Sit down with random member of the cast, either present or someone from the past who hasn't been on the show for a while.
We had one with Tyler.
Tyler and Jake.
Jake, we had I think everyone in the chat right now, Mac, Val, Karen.
Just did one with Karen before that. Did one with Xavier a month
Yep.
before that, and you can go back and listen to all those.
I did one with you. It was weird.
Yeah, it was.
People liked it.
Yeah, it's weird because we sit down and talk every day. So and I'm not good at answering questions about myself. But
the other thing you're going to get.
The other thing is the Safe Haven Society. Now, if you subscribe to our main feed, I hope you do.
It'd be weird if you were here and you don't.
Yeah, if you have no idea, who we are, and
hi,
you just
I'm Brianna.
yeah, hi,
Jason.
I'm Jason. So, the Safe Haven Society is a brand new thing we just started. We put a sample of it in the feed because we wanted you guys to kind of hear it. And from now on, they're just going to be on Patreon starting in
I
March.
didn't mention Kelsey earlier, and now she's throwing a little hissy fit in the chat. Hi, Kelsey. I'm
Yeah.
mentioning you.
I talked to Kelsey too.
Yeah,
It was
she
enjoyable.
also did a character chat, and
It
she
was
did really
great.
well. And then she went onto the forums and followed up on her questions really professionally.
It was diligent.
Yes.
Thank you. Love
I
you,
love you,
Kels.
Kelsey.
So, Safe Haven Society. Here is the basic premise. If you
Posted a heart, and then she kept listening and wrote, "Fuck you."
Merrick's, Jasper said, "Who's Kelsey?" Oh my God.
I'm gonna die. Anyway.
So, $15 tier character chats, they stay the same. The Safe Haven Society, here is the general pitch. There is the group of adventurers, just random people, basically, in Brightport that meet up in the bar you probably heard about on the show called Safe Haven.
Yes.
And essentially, what it breaks down to is they all come from different walks of life, different races, different people, and they kind of just sit down and tell stories. Things that have actually affected them and touched their lives. These might be personal stories. They might be things from the ancient past. They might be things that are happening currently.
Right.
The point is, they're taking place from the perspective of each person telling it. So you might not get all the facts. Like, okay, let's say they tell a story about Malchus. Well, they're going to be telling it from their perspective.
Right.
And all of them may have a different piece of the story or
We
different. Like, I
specifically
heard.
engineered it so that it's a bunch of different voices. There's a Githzerai and a Lion Folk, and they're friends for some fucking reason. Find out why eventually, because we do have backstories for the characters. We have
Yeah, these are fully fledged characters
We
that,
have a Drow, we have a human, Az is human, right?
as is human. Yeah.
Az is human, and we have a halfling, and they all come from different places. Az comes from fucking Uman'Yaro. Obviously, the Lion Folk and the Githzerai come from Talor. The Drow, it's a secret. Everything's a secret with the Drow. Fucking Deppen, you're gonna find out where he's from soon, actually. Like,
Yeah.
2 months from now, we have it lined up where he's gonna tell his story.
Yep.
And it's good, guys. It was a good idea. Jason's backstory for him is fantastic, and you're gonna want to hear it. So, $15 tier on Patreon to get that.
And it's one of those things we've been doing all-nighters.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things we started coming up with the idea for it. It's like, well, what if we did that? Because the original thing was like a town crier thing, where it's like
Right.
you'll hear about little events from Theria. It's like, oh,
Right.
you know, like a picture like a little 1920s newsie standing in the corner. It's like, extra, extra, like that kind of thing. But it would be events that are happening around, like a little news program. This is better because it's actual people. It's like, yeah, this fucking group rolled through town. I was in Durnhollow at the time, and this, and this happened. It's
Right.
people who've been affected or have seen things or heard things, and you get to see it from their perspective, and
Right.
it's kind of cool. So,
And, like, they all have different versions of it in our head, and they're gonna come and tell stories from different places, because 2 of them are, like, fucking mercenaries, and one of them is, it's a mystery where he's from, and the other one's just a retired fucking mage guy, researcher dude. Anyway, really hope you like it. We really liked doing it. I
Yeah.
remember, like, the first night when we were coming up with the idea, we went on a huge walk.
yeah.
And we were just
it was
talking
like
about
5 a.m.,
that.
6
Yeah.
a.m., something like that. But it was
Coming up with character ideas and shit. So,
yeah, so that was really, really fun, and we,
Yeah.
a lot of you guys had some great feedback for it. You liked it, and it's exactly the kind of feedback we needed from those
Right.
surveys. It's like, okay, we want more lore, more stuff in Theria, more
Right.
things that are more role play. So it's like, okay, well, let's do this. So.
Sakura says, you needs more sleep.
No.
No. All right, we had nothing for this, guys. The 500 tier is going to stay the same with the
Custom
sitting down
game.
custom game.
It's a custom. Again, if you've never heard of that, there's a $500 tier that is essentially a monthly game that is a continuous thing in Theria. It's not part of the show. It's
Right.
not.
It's not
and
canon.
there's only one of them, one slot, because I can't do more than that. That is a custom thing. It's basically a fully fledged group unto itself. Custom characters, custom things for you and your friends, and maybe some of the cast. But I can only do one of them. So basically, it's a first come first serve
Right.
thing. I can't do more than that. But yeah, it's for as long as you're in the thing, we do it
You
month to month and just
your
continue the story.
If you can invite your friends, or if you're like us and don't have many friends, we can fill in the blanks with people. But anyway, that's $500 tier. It's not changing. But we wanted to do something because we do have people in the $100 plus tier. We could not think of anything to like express, but also like Dude, we can't give up on anything. So we have a special thank you on Extended Rest. Essentially, when we close out Extended Rest, each of the live episodes, we'll go through the Patreon list and thank you personally. Obviously, that's optional.
If
We're going
you
to send
don't
out
want-
messages
yeah.
like, what is your preferred name? Or if you don't want us to, we won't. Because some people are very private with their finances and shit like that. And then some people probably will want us to read their silly,
Yeah, if you want us
like
to call
DNR
you,
name or
yeah, if you want us
something.
to call you Sparkle Bottom Jr., cool,
Yes,
you are
dude.
Sparkle Bottom Jr.
Obviously, we're not going to say, like, the 2 words we don't say on the show. Don't put those in your name, and you'll be fine.
What's
yeah.
happening? What? Brian asked a question.
Brian asked a question to Kaluna about, like, if Kaluna would be a literal tree hugger if someone hugged a Kaluna. We thought it was a serious question. Sorry. So, yeah, you'll get a special thank you there. It's the best we could think to do.
We're closing in.
We are closing in.
Okay.
So, these are some of the things that in the last one we kind of hit on, but also we're hitting in the future. If you could change something about the actual DNR podcast, what would it be? More mailbags for GM or a GMT with guest characters, like all this stuff. You can read it. We just wanted to show you guys that we are reacting to your fucking
the actual
suggestions.
feedback, yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to. You might see the thing that you answered here. If you answered the survey, you might be in here somewhere. It was all anonymous, so I can't thank you specifically, but you might be there. So here are some things, like mechanics-wise, that we are going to be changing about the show based on that.
So, the stuff you guys notice is stuff we have noticed for a long time. And while I think 200 is going to be amazing, we had issues last night with combat. Combat is something that came up again and again and again and again in those surveys. It's slow, it's tedious, it's bogged down by status effects, it's all that. We were going to work on that. The D20 travel rules, they're going to be changed, so it's not
Completely
so much
refined.
combat, it's going to be completely refined
Right.
and meant to reflect what actually happens in Theria. Instead of several episodes taking place over the course of a day or two, we're going to elongate that and make time travel a little faster, so you can get to see
Right.
over the course of 200 episodes, instead of it being like 3-4 months,
Right.
it might be a year or two. We don't know yet. So we're not doing the active perception roles thing anymore. It's going to be more passive perception. It's going to be, and the reason we started that is for something a long time ago, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
Gold is going to play a huge part in the next arc. People are going to be able to buy things, sell things, trade things, gamble, underground fight clubs, all kinds of things that are just... It's more about the actual living of life in Theria, not just going out and fighting things, getting treasure, coming back, not just big world-ending cataclysmic things coming back, and not being attached to the town or city that you're in at the time, interacting with more NPCs, having them be more effectual in the way things are played out. And part of that is developing more mechanics for things that would happen while you're around town and just hanging out.
Yeah.
Combat deserves a second mention because I love playing with everybody on the show.
Oh, dude.
Combat
Combat is the fucking worst.
is a
We found
black
out last
hole.
night.
I knew before last night.
I knew before last night. Here's the thing. I never played with a group like Group 2. No offense, Group 2. I've never played with that group before. I didn't know. Like, I knew because I edited them. I've never
You
been
knew
a
for me
part of
pacing
it.
back and forth and yelling
Yeah.
before. You knew because it's combat is just, it needs work. It needs something new, and that is why
Wait for it. Okay? We get it.
we hear
Get it.
we hear you. We have been looking at this for a very long time, and as a result, DNR will be moving to 5th edition in the new arc officially.
Officially.
we
Swear.
we swear.
We know we've gone back and forth on this a fucking bunch, and we're the worst when it comes to committing to this. But it's because we really need to know. And we built characters, we leveled them up, we've played a little bit, and we think there is a way that we can switch to 5th edition and we don't have to worry about Theria getting broken.
Nope.
Obviously, there's a ton of caveats. There should be a huge asterisks up there. But that's essentially what we're doing. We'll get to you later, Brett Javier. We can't really do that live, but maybe someday we'll touch upon it. we are obviously, like, some of the cantrips are going to have to fucking go. Some of the spells are going to have to be completely reworked. We've talked about how resurrection can only be earned by fighting the Angel of Death, or maybe a few other ways. I don't know if there are other ways. But fighting the Angel of Death is the big one that actually happened on the show.
Yeah.
Some spells might have to be earned, and it has to be, like, a side thing where, like, oh, well, in my tribe, once you become a certain age and you need to learn the spell, you have to go home and have the elder teach you. Something like that. So that the overpowered spells that 5th edition does have, and let's be real, it does have a few of those, it feels like you're actually, like, reaching that pinnacle. It's like, damn, look at what you just accomplished.
Yeah. That is, and it's something that happens slowly and surely in 4E, that players, a lot of players, and it's through no fault of their own, they're doing what their character's supposed to do.
Right.
They became the gods of red tape and bureaucracy. It's basically like battling the DMV every single time
Yes.
that you wanted to do anything, and essentially every single turn of every single round was like, oh, I have a thing. Stop everything. Stop the presses. I have a thing. Let's rewind. That does no damage. This person is blind. Now that, okay, that is a saving throw for this, but they get a -2 to that saving throw. Oh, I end an action point. When I pop an action point, this, it's so slow and tedious. And it's, again, no player on the show's fault. It's just the game. It's how it's structured. And the problem is, there are 2 sections of DNR, because there's 2 sections of D&D. There's all the roleplay bits, there's the things where characters talk to each other, and they talk to NPCs, and they do things in the world, and it matters, and it has weight. And then as soon as combat starts, everything changes, because it becomes a board game, a tediously slow, monotonous board game, and it doesn't feel like the show that happened all the way up to the point where we roll initiative. Everything else changes. Characters don't act the way they would outside of combat because they don't have to. There is nothing that separates them from needing to roll those, all that stuff that's oh, I have a power that does this, I have a power that does that. None of that is dictated that same way outside of combat. They're not that powerful outside of combat. So 5e, and I have been pouring through these books for a very long time, a couple of years now, actually. This one, I had the first 2. This one is sent by...
He kept the Post-it note on it, Jasper. I heard the story.
Yeah, Jasper is an incredibly sweet individual, but been sitting on these books for a long time.
Yeah.
Been reading through them. There looked like there was a point where it just didn't look like it was going to happen. It didn't look like it was going to fit our world.
To be fair, we were looking at the wrong spells and with the wrong mindset. Like, a lot of 9th level spells are super crazy OP. You don't get to use 9th level spells until you're level 15 or 20.
Well, there's some low level spells
of the way it works.
Yeah,
and there are some low. Yeah.
The entire party turns into foxes. It's like, okay.
Okay, if it were foxes, I'd probably fight for it, to be honest. But it's wolves.
No, it's foxes.
Oh. I want that one.
You can't just...
I'm joking. I just really like foxes. I thought it was wolves.
Yeah.
Anyway, but, like, that's really OP and it doesn't make sense in Theria.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that it does not work in your games, obviously, but Theria is just... It's a different place with different rules. We're going to have to...
I feel like you guys might be preaching to the choir with 4e versus 5e. Well, there's some people... Okay, there's some people who like that mechanical thing. They like that, and that's... We talked about on the newsletter, we're not going to make everybody happy with these new changes. Some people are going to go, yay, for this. Like, what we want to do is make the role-playing combat kind of seamless. We want it to feel like it isn't such an abrupt... It's like you're walking around in the overworld in an RPG, and it's like... And you start a random combat, and it's a completely different feel all of a sudden. We don't want that.
It's hard to... One of the things that 5th edition does encourage a little bit more is roleplay during fights. I play in a fun game that we used to have, and every time we bring up a fun game, I play this guy named Virgil, because I fucking love him. He's just a plump little half-tiefling, and I enjoy him very much. He's just sword and shield. And he doesn't get any cool powers in 5th edition, but the entire thing is on me to roleplay cool shit that he's doing. To aim for knees, to try to get the high ground, to, like, protect my teammates, and that is all things that I can do without relying on powers, because I don't really get powers, because I'm just a fucking paladin. I get a few powers, I get lay on hands.
Yeah.
But, like, it's more roleplay than 4th edition.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not perfect. It's still combat. It's still going to be a little bit slow. It's probably still going to be a little bit dry. But hopefully this will help a bunch.
Again, I think the combination of us switching to a new edition, us drilling on it like fucking ballerinas in the off season and really getting used to it, getting comfy.
I like the ballerinas is the sport you went with.
Do you know how hard they
Dude,
gotta train?
they gotta fucking try really.
Yeah.
That made me happy for some reason that you acknowledged.
Well, what I got to reference? Football?
Wrestling? Oh.
Okay, that's another one, but I don't know.
Wrestling
Yeah.
and ballerinas, same thing.
Wrestling and ballerinas, basically the same.
Yeah. I
But
don't know, it just made me happy that you said ballerinas. It just made
well-
me smile.
it is a huge undertaking. We have a lot of work to do behind the scenes, but in the meantime, we really hope that you enjoy episodes 199 and 200. We
Yes.
busted our ass on that night. Again, want to give a shout out to the entire cast because
Yeah, you guys are great.
we had already gotten the stuff done with groups 1 and 4 and DRP. We already got all that stuff recorded. And then last night it was just polishing up everything with groups 2 and groups 3. And holy balls. I don't want to go into spoilers. I don't want to go into anything. We do want to answer questions if you have them. So ask your questions in the chat. But
right.
we think you're going to be happy with what we've recorded. And
Dude, the end of episode 200 is fucking spectacular. I think everyone in the call was kind of just dumbfounded at that point. And we were all fucking exhausted.
exhausted
too.
is mostly what I think
but
it was.
also fucking great. All right, questions. The first one I saw was, what is the ruling on resurrection spells?
Oh yeah,
We
look.
still have to go through 5e and see how many of them are. I've heard there are a bunch.
Oh yeah, okay. Let me dispel some things right off the bat. Theria as a core will not be changing between 4e and 5e. It's not going to be like, oh, now everyone has a resurrection and everyone has it. That's not going to happen. It's not.
Resurrection is still going to be rare.
It's supposed to be a meaningful thing, and there's supposed to be risk involved, and bringing someone back from the dead is a monumental event. It shouldn't just be, hey, here, do this, and it's that along with just Theria being kind of a medium magic world. People won't just conjure things from the ether,
Right.
and it's not. It's still, there's a price for everything. Is the point.
Exactly. So resurrection may exist. It probably will exist because it does exist in Theria now. But there's going to be rules and regulations and a risk. And you probably won't just get it by leveling up. You're going to have to work for it somehow. Death does have consequences.
Yep. Guess who? Do you have any idea when episode 200 is going to hit the feed? March 13th. Probably March 12th, very late at night.
Yeah,
is probably how
that's
it's
what
going
we
to
do.
work. But yeah, we need a couple of weeks to polish that. There is a monumental amount of audio. I think 13, 14 hours of audio to go through
Yeah.
in total.
Hey, Merrick is saying that Merrick would probably be a war cleric. That's what Virgil is.
Hey!
Hey,
Look at that!
what's up, bro? Though he's gonna once he levels up to level 4, he becomes a Black Paladin. What are they called in 5th edition?
3.
3.
It's not they're not called, it's something else.
Yeah.
They
Anyway,
call it
he's
something.
a,
All the
he's a
names are
shitty
slightly
paladin.
different.
He's
yeah.
a douche. He's an alcoholic asshole.
Yeah.
Virgil, not Merrick.
Yeah.
But yeah, war clerics play really well and super fucking quickly. You don't understand. There's one action. There's not a minor action and an action point that can turn into a minor action or a move action that can...
None of that
The most
bullshit.
complicated thing is that you can split your move action, which is something everyone wants to do anyway.
Yeah.
So...
It's so much better. I can't.
Oathbreaker. That's it.
Oathbreaker
Thank you,
is the
Sam
one.
Bryan.
Yes, thank
He's
you.
an Oathbreaker.
That is it's a thing. We've been pouring through it and like practicing and building characters and all that. And yeah, there's some stuff that's wacky and overpowered. And it's like, ooh, that will not work. Like flat out
Right.
mind control and all that stuff. It's like, no, we don't do that. But a lot of it is just the core roleplay and rules and combat is just so much faster. It's like you have a move action, you have an action, boom,
Right.
you're done. No more 45-minute turns. No more worrying about you missing one of the 50 powers you have.
Immediate interrupts, dude.
Immediate interrupts and reactions, and just the at-wills, encounters, dailies, then reactions,
And then that whole
and then
fucking list
and
over
then
there
just
of all the conditions,
all the
and
conditions,
benefits and
all that, and the feats and abilities and backgrounds and all that.
it's insane.
Chuck
there
it.
are backgrounds in 5th edition. I like them a lot.
Yeah, but they're
only
not
like
the
8
same
right
as
now,
4E.
But you can make your own, and that's what we're going to be doing. Is probably every character's probably going to get their own, except for maybe like 2 or 3 who might have the same one.
Yeah.
Because like the only, like, assassin is one of the, like, 8 that exist right now officially in the books.
There are bonus actions. We're not. Yes, we know, but
Yeah.
it's not like 4E. It's not.
Like
It's not as
40 where
bogged
it's like,
down.
let me check my 12 spells to see if there's another minor action I can
If
use.
I had a dime for every time a player just had to go, hold on, guys, and they're flipping through their 8-page character sheet
Yeah.
because it's just too dense. There's too much. I would be a rich man because everyone does it all the time because you have to. Because no one, dude, Stephen Hawking couldn't memorize all the shit that is just you can't.
I think you could.
I don't think he could.
It's pretty smart.
No.
He doesn't have much to do with his time.
He's just solving all those universal fucking
Yeah.
problems. Just
I
like
bet he'd be great at
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons.
probably.
He'd play a Warforged.
Let's try to get
obviously.
Stephen Hawking on the show. Wow.
What?
Is that hurtful? I don't
I
know
don't
if
know.
that's hurtful.
He talks like a robot.
Mr. Hawking, if you're
I'm not
listening.
the first person to point this out at the very least.
I know. No, you're
Um,
not. I've watched Big Bang Theory. So,
oh god,
if-
he was on that though, so
I
he
know
must
he
have
was.
encouraged it
Yeah,
on
he's
some
fine.
level.
I hear he's got a good sense of humor.
Right.
Any more questions before we wrap things up for the day? Again, we want to thank everybody for joining us and hanging out. This is a huge, bigger turnout than I thought we were going to get just for announcing show changes. We're obviously just very excited to get. We were
We're
excited
so
to wrap up
excited.
200 and finish kind of telling a bunch of stories that we started with back in 2009 to that 2012 officially.
Right.
And yeah, it's seriously.
Dude, guys, this means so much to us. We're so glad. Seeing the fucking chat. If you have any more questions, by the way, throw them out now before we wind completely down. But we are really proud of what we've come out with. We really like these new changes we're making. Obviously, it's going to take some time. Obviously, there are going to be things that you end up not liking, but I really hope that at the end of the day, I almost made a page for this, but when we asked people what is their favorite thing about DNR, like I put all the things that people put for their least favorite things, but favorite thing of DNR, universally speaking, roleplay. Like everyone
Yeah.
likes the roleplay and the stories. That's every single comment mentioned that. That is not changing. That is going to stay the same no matter what, because that's the part that we like too. So why would we change it? All these changes are to help roleplay get better and help
Aw.
make roleplay a bigger part of the show. 5e has a lot for that too. We didn't really talk about that so much, but there's a ton of stuff in 5th edition
Yeah.
that helps with roleplay.
Yep.
And encourages people.
Darksfall. How long is the time jump? Listen to
Working on
200.
it. Yeah.
Listen to 200. We're going to be working on some stuff behind the scenes. I have a lot of writing to do.
Yeah.
A lot.
I promise you it's not 500 years.
No.
How long is it in Andromeda?
Too fucking long. Too fucking long, and nothing you did in the 200 previous hours matter at all.
Tell us how you really feel, Jason.
I don't like wasting my time.
I don't like it when my video game time has been wasted.
Okay. Not only your entire campaign for all those games is like, your choices have consequences, everything matters. But they really don't. Anyway,
Listen, it's
sorry.
about the journey. Haven't you ever heard of
Fuck that. Okay,
the Lord of the Rings principle?
guys, we're scrapping episode 200, and we're going to give you a cartoon gif of a cat that asks, what do you think happened? Then we're going to jump 6 trillion years in the future to space Theria, and nothing matters. But it's about the journey. We're going to...
You do have that mentality so much that it hurts though, because you got a spoiler for BoJack Horseman, and you said that like,
I'm
oh,
done.
that ruined that character for me.
I got like 5 spoilers for BoJack Horseman.
Oh, I was only thinking of the one big one.
No, well, the big
Which
one,
is
I was like,
oh, that was even matter, and I'm like, well,
Yeah.
other stuff that
I know.
character does still matters, and you're like, no, it doesn't, because in the end, this happens.
Right.
I'm like,
Brett Javier, how many stories get wrapped up?
a lot.
A lot of stuff, like a lot of big things. Just
If I had to count, at least 2 in like the last few minutes of 3, 4. Quite a few.
quite a few,
And
yeah.
I'm not. I haven't listened to the other half of episode 200 yet, because I'm the one editing that half. I wasn't in it, obviously.
No.
Because I'm not on those groups.
No.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Let's see. Spark of it Sandy, are you still going to do weekly streams? Or are they in a hiatus? We're still going to be doing those
Yeah, those
tonight.
are-
yeah, we're
yeah.
still doing those.
We're
we'll
doing
still be
those.
around.
It's
You
an
can
hour
still
and a half
talk to
twice
us.
a week, so.
G Soda says, I'm pretty happy with all this. Yeah, there's some things I don't like, but I'm going to be more happy with you guys feeling like you can grow with this. I'm betting you're talking
100%
about
sure.
3 episodes a month.
3 episodes a month.
But
I'm sure that's going to be the most upsetting thing to a lot of people.
let's talk about milestones for a second, because
Right.
here's the thing we wanted to do with milestones. Holy Lord. So many of
many
you guys.
questions. Thank you.
Will the YouTube channel get an update?
I'll try. I
it's
keep
tough.
forgetting. I keep forgetting to go on, and I have to log on as Dungeons and Randomness, which I do not do because I stay logged in as Hexmania. Anyway, wait, what was the question?
Are you guys
Keep
happy? Yes,
We're
I'm
super
very
happy.
happy, especially after
Aw.
wrapping everything up last night. I damn near cried.
Dude, I did. For the record, I did cry.
I did.
For most of that episode.
I did towards the end of that episode, and you can hear it.
Anyway.
I'm fucking mad about that. But anyway,
Anyway, so Patreon, we are changing the rewards. I didn't put that in here because I thought there was already too much about Patreon. I didn't want it to seem like it was just commercial.
yeah.
A lot of the rewards we have changed to be like, this episode you get an extra, this month you get an extra
Really?
episode of DNR,
G-Sodas.
things like that. And after, I think we put it at 5,000.
Somewhere in there.
Somewhere
It's
around
up
there. It's a big
Four-
one.
4,500? I don't know.
That's when you're going to start getting 4 episodes a month again. And I know that sucks, and I know it feels like we're putting up. It's because by that point, we might be able to hire someone on to help us edit, or, you know, at that point it'll be worth it for the extra time that we are spending trying to kill ourselves to get 4 episodes out. One of the other things that I wanted to mention during the thing that had all the things you guys wanted to change about DNR, I am going to try to make sure that the groups are more evenly represented in the feed. I know that for a while, Group 4 was just out of there. The reason being is that the timeline kind of fucked that up, where Group 4 was ahead of everybody else, and everyone had to take a few episodes to catch up
Yeah.
so that they'd be where they needed to be by episode 200.
Yep.
So Group 4 kind of had a back seat, and I feel really bad about that. In general, I'm going to try to make sure that each group gets represented once a month if they can.
Yeah,
Sometimes things get in the way of that, but I will. That's
some people
gonna
go
be
on
my
vacation.
job.
Sometimes just
Yeah.
things happen. We're going to do our very, very best.
Like no one ever has.
Are you guys using the inspiration mechanic? We're still looking over everything. Things are going to be. It's going to be a homebrewed version of 5e for sure.
Right, for sure. The
core
inspiration
mechanics
mechanic
are
will
there.
probably be there, but it's not going to be the same as in the books, because in the books it's kind of played in the same way that like
Alignment.
alignments are, where it's like, do this all the time forever so that you don't fuck up and not get points. That's not how we're going to play that.
It's mostly there to encourage people to role
Right.
play who aren't used to. If you get your friends to sit down, it's
Right.
like, oh, well, this is how you do this because this is your alignment. You're chaotic good or whatever. So I like to think our cast is really used to role playing.
Yeah.
We don't.
So
that's
we
our.
don't need
that's our
that so
thing.
much.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it's not a great mechanic. I think it's fucking brilliant for new role players.
Yeah.
But as a mechanic for DNR, I think it would mostly get in the way of character development, because it does not encourage your character to change so much as rigidly stay to the fucking bond, flaws, and morals that you came
Yeah.
up with when you created the character, and that is not how people are.
Right.
Same thing with alignment system. Like, yeah, you can switch it over, but then you have to rigidly hold to this new alignment system, and it's just silly. But Jason's already kind of always done the inspiration mechanic in his own way, because if someone rolls diplomacy after giving a really good speech, if someone rolls like a stealth check when they have a reason to be more stealthy than usual, things like that, he always gives them bonuses. So you've kind of always done the inspiration mechanic.
Yeah, I try to reward people. I try to reward people for doing stuff that would be in character or doing
Yeah.
stuff. You know, if like I kept using this thing, it's like, okay, if Sora runs and jumps in a river to save somebody who's drowning at the risk of her own life, it's like, oh, okay, I want to give you a plus to this because that is super in Sora's character. That is
Right.
You know, going back to milestones on Patreon for just a moment. One of the things that we talked about very early on in this whole presentation was. It's a bummer when we unlock something, like a new show or a new thing,
Right.
and we fall down below that, and it's like, okay, do we not
We
do
already
it?
recorded it.
Or we already
Yeah.
recorded it. Like, we've fallen down below Loving in Theory. It's like, that went up months ago.
Yeah.
What do we do? So, what we're going to do is augments. So, we mentioned the one for...
5,000,
we
which
mentioned,
is-
yeah, I think it's 5,000, but
Yeah.
then we... Four episodes in the feed again, plus extended rest. There's things like that riddled throughout Patreon too, because we wanted to make sure that milestones also almost
could almost like be reversed if we fall
Yeah.
below them, but then could be re-implemented once we went above them.
Yep. So you might get 2 character chats in a month. You might get that. I
Right.
forget exactly what we did. I think it's
I know one of them is we put Nerdy Thing podcast in
Oh yeah.
the reward tiers, and we have actually changed that. I should have mentioned it in the Patreon thing, but again, I didn't want it to be a huge
Yeah,
commercial.
it's not a commercial.
We've changed that so that we'll have guests on. For instance, if we were going to have an episode with Overwatch, we'd pick a few cast members who like Overwatch to come on and talk about what they like about Overwatch.
Yep.
So that it's not just Jason and I screaming into the ether about things we hate. We're gonna do things we like and things we don't like. Obviously, we're not gonna stop
We
talking about
have
the shit we hate.
we have never done a show about anything that we've hated before. I have never went on a rant about, let's say, Mass Effect or the Superman movies or anything ever. I am a liar.
Comedy. But yeah, extended rest for episode 200. That is something we're thinking of. Yes.
We're definitely doing something. It won't be exactly extended rest.
But it'll kind of be extended rest. No,
you
it'll
wanna
give
talk
you a
about it?
taste. It'll give you a taste.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about it? Like
That's drugs, right?
that's your upper lip.
Okay, I thought
You,
Do I do that? Oh, this. Okay.
Yeah.
the weeds, guys. I smokes them.
That's for Coke.
Coke. I sniff it. Right?
Yes.
Cool.
So we talked about, while we're doing all these changes, there are things that are going up in the feed. Now, obviously, 200 episodes is a crazy, stupid, big milestone. 5 years of doing this. And as a result of us doing this, Theorython will not be taking place in April like it's been. We're going to be doing that later in the year. We need to get all this sort of squared away. There's a lot of stuff to work on between the recap and new edition, all
Right.
that. So what we're going to be doing is sitting down with each one of the groups and doing sort of a big character chat type thing, a retrospective, following that group's entire adventure in Theria all the way running up. So we'll sit down with group 1 and talk about getting started all the way through, because Rob is one of the sole members. We may need a couple of guests to help. And that goes for groups 2, 3, and 4.
Yep.
Their entire run on the show, and they'll be appearing weekly for about a month.
Yeah, that's
and
how we're
just
going to
talking
buy
about it.
ourselves some time to do all these switches we're talking about. Learn 5th edition, teach the cast 5th edition, because, let's be real, they went back to the 1st edition of spellcasting, and it's confusing as shit. Because if they just called the spell levels something else,
Other than spell
Levels,
yes,
yeah.
it's
at
confusing.
level 4 you get 2 level 2s. It's like, fuck you, call them something else.
Yeah, it is a little
Call
confusing.
them something that's not the word levels, and it would be so much more simple.
Explaining that to the entire cast, and then
It's
them
going to
going,
kill us.
back up? What? Like, it's a completely different way of doing things.
There's
but,
a table, and it's very simple to learn once, like, if you understand it, and the slot system, same thing. It's very simple to learn once you get it.
Yeah.
But teaching it to someone else is almost impossible because, unlike 4th edition, one of the things I will say about 5th edition is they're much looser with the language, which means it's very hard to distinguish between certain things. Whereas in 4th edition, when you look at a spell, you can decide exactly what it does based on, like, one word within the spell.
4th edition, most of it's...
4th edition's like, I don't know, what do you want to do with it?
Well, okay, 4th edition is worded like a legal document a lot of the times, whereas 5th edition is more like, it's theater of the mind. It's
mine, man.
Yeah, so...
And that's better for our show. It is harder for teaching combat to people when it's like, level,
Super
level,
Saiyan,
level, slot,
tier.
level.
Tier would be a better
Tier
word.
is such a good word. Why didn't they use the word tier?
Yeah, it's
Anyway,
interesting.
we
but
might
yeah.
have to do that, honestly. I was
Yeah.
talking to Jason about, like, just so that makes sense to listeners, we might want to call them something else. Tier might work.
Tim Miller, aren't a lot of cast members used to playing other editions outside of DNR? While that is true, I'd say probably half the cast is at the very least dabbled in 5e.
Right.
We're not playing 5e like it is out of the book. So
Right.
not only do they have to learn a new edition cores rule set wise, they have to learn the way we're going to play it on the show because it has to fit theory.
Right.
So there are spells in our world that just won't exist because we can't do them outside the book. That being said, we're going to probably create new ones. And we're going to create a bunch of new backgrounds and a bunch of stuff just to kind of flesh things out. There are stuff
Right.
in the books that's kind of lean. Like, I think there's 8 backgrounds.
Yeah,
That doesn't encompass all of the cast, let alone any characters that might be created in the
It
future.
didn't work for Virgil.
No,
I had to
out
go
of the gate.
online and find a fake one that someone made up, and The thing is, though, it is so easy to make up a background.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's fantastic. There's basically just a template there. It's like, pick the 2 skills that are related to it, say what's in your bag, and then the DM has to just sign off on it. Obviously, Jason will be there when people create their backgrounds, because we don't want anyone to be like, well, he's the forgotten king of this kingdom you've never heard of before. But he has a dragon and 7,000 gold. Like, obviously, fucking duh. Like,
Stab.
Virgil took a hit because I chose the exile feat that I found online, or the exile background. And he only gets 5 gold with the exile background, and nothing really good. Like, he gets, like, a piece of, like, a pair of shitty clothes.
Spark had a good point. Like, some
Yep.
of the racial traits and backgrounds are kind of broken. Like, halflings almost literally cannot crit fail.
Yeah, that's the thing.
The chances of them, basically, they have a thing called lucky, which if they roll a crit 1 at any time for an attack, ability check, whatever, they get to re-roll and take the second result. The odds of you rolling 2 1s in a row are so infinitesimally small.
When we tested the board, you rolled 7 1s in a row.
Yeah, but that's I'm unlucky as a person.
We fucked up those camels real good.
Yeah. Yeah, you and Elle beat the shit out of some camels.
We basically just ran into a petting zoo and just fucking, because we were using level 1 characters, so they're like, okay, camels. The camels never hit us or like at all, so literally we ran into a petting zoo, murdered all the camels, and then left.
Yeah, they try to take a bite at you with like a clumsy swing, just.
So we decided that was just them spitting and dribbling down their mouth because it was a crit 1.
Yeah.
Which in 5th edition, we actually didn't use the system
No.
of fumbling and fucking critting.
Yeah, that's something that's been in like every edition of D&D. We're going to make our own custom thing because
Right.
we want there to be, oh man, there's a bunch of
We
stuff.
want there to be threats that aren't just death. That's a huge one for us, is we want there to be, holy shit, let's say Merrick, just because he's the oldest member I can think of on an active group right now, let's say he fucking throws out his back because he got a crit 1.
Yeah.
He's gonna have to go lay down for a few weeks. He might never, depending on how bad it is, he might never adventure again, but he's not dead.
Yep.
But he is out of the adventuring lifestyle because he fucked up his back and he can't do it anymore. Shit like that. I'm not targeting you, Jasper, for the record. But things like that add some flavor to the world, that allow characters to retire without fucking dying, because that's the worst. I think Jadzia is the only one who's ever been able to do it. It's because there's no reason to stop adventuring ever.
Well, okay. I always put it out there as gambling. Like, eventually you're going to crap out. You're going to have a bad day. Someone's going to get the better of you and you will die. But by us doing things like having time progress more quickly, it would make more sense, because in the way we've been doing things, like 3 or 4 months, well, more than that, obviously, years have passed, but in a big block in the beginning, and then time sort of crawled for the rest of the run of the show. And that means that a lot of groups have only been together for weeks. So they go, I'm not retiring because it's been 3 weeks. That makes no sense. And that's a good point. So, have you tried Joker Sniper, have you tried the crit hit and crit fails deck? They are made for Pathfinder, but yeah, dude, there's a lot of them where it's kind of like the Rod of Wonder, where like I looked at it early on, it's like,
there's a ton of different ones to try.
I'm going to make my own list.
I'm betting, just from what I know about Jason, he's going to make his own custom list for every single fucking battle. Like, depending on what you're fighting, that's probably going to affect how you hurt yourself or how they hurt you.
You're probably not wrong.
I am not wrong at all. I know I'm fucking not. But yeah, obviously, like, here's the other thing. Like, someone said, like, oh, so rolling a crit 1 might make you retire. It might also kill you, because if Merrick throws his back out in the middle of fighting a fucking werewolf, Merrick might get eaten. I'm picking on Jasper here. He's in the chat being like, he's 38, he's not that old. That's old for an adventurer.
I'm 36. I wouldn't want to be up. Yeah, look at.
He looks like he could survive in the wild.
I was telling you at 36, it's not that old. But yeah, in Adventurer's lifetime, it's, yeah. Brian asked, shrink it down to 3 groups, how many cast members are we losing? We're going over everything now.
Right.
We probably will not be losing many people at all, because what we want to do is redistribute. Like, okay, group 1 has 3 members, 4 members technically, so it's like we're trying to shuffle things around so that all the groups are full, and at the same time, Rob. Hey, Rob.
That was such, no offense, Rob, that's just such a rare occurrence. I was like, what? Plus, you choose Brown for your name? which really stands out amongst the pinks, purples, and blues.
That's a good point. You want some heinous combat? No, actually, Rob, this is a new theory in that every fucking corner you round, the dice aren't, there isn't, it's because the way the tables work now, they shouldn't punish you that much, but people keep rolling very low or very high a lot of the times.
Right.
Let's say you're in a crucial bit of story for a big episode coming up, and you roll a 1. Bad things happen, and that's going to continue to happen. But
Right.
it's going to be there's going to be a minutia of things. Like it's
Right.
going to be shades of gray
the,
instead of black and white.
For people who don't know much about 5th edition, which it seems by the chat that most of you guys do, but
Yeah.
for instance, hey Darks, this is Michael. I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
Who's Varla 30, by the way?
Varla is on the forums.
Oh, I thought they were in the cast.
No.
Because when we were talking about the cast, they're like, I'm here too.
Yeah.
Anyway, for those of you who don't know about 5th edition at all, the death system is still very fair towards the player,
Oh, that
but
is
it's not
Michael.
impossible to kill someone.
Yes.
There's also like a whole shock system that we may or may not implement. There's a bunch of stuff that makes fighting faster and more realistic.
It feels more visceral. It feels like a Lord of the Rings fight,
Right.
whereas 4E is terrible.
Varla is Jane!
Yeah. Oh, Varla is Jane. Damn it.
Thank you, Val. She said she was on the cast, and I was like, there's no, I just don't.
I didn't think that was Jane. I thought that was someone else. I'm sorry,
Hi,
Jane.
Jane.
God, hi, Jane. So 4E was designed, and Robert Schwab talked about this a bit
Yeah.
at DragonCon. Like, basically, 4E was designed so that everyone was a superhero. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost impossible to kill someone outright unless you do what I did. Because, like, okay, taking a werewolf, a stock werewolf out of the book, it does like 1d6.
Yeah.
At level 11. That's never going to kill anyone ever. And when someone pops a healing surge in 4E, they get a quarter of their health back with bonuses because no one has a heal that just says, oh, pop a healing surge. It's pop a healing surge plus this many dice and my charisma modifier. And it's almost impossible to kill something. Now, that being said, I don't want to kill things. But if there's no threat of death, then there's
Right.
it greatly affects what characters are doing in the story.
And in some
And
fights, you can hear it. You can hear the let's just get this over with because we're gonna kill this person, and it doesn't
people
even
say
fucking
that.
matter.
People say it's like,
People say that all
let's
the
just
time.
go. There's no threat. There's no
And the number of times that someone meets an NPC they don't like and says, let's just kill this guy
Yeah.
because there's no threat in battle.
Nope.
So why not just kill every NPC who disagrees with you?
Yeah.
I'm not saying any group has done that, but they think about it a lot. They think about how they could just murder everyone who disagrees with them. Some groups may have done that at some point. I'm not saying vampires happened. I'm not saying Group 2...
Group 2 is not the only group to do that.
I was
we
trying
could
to
talk
say
about
Group 1.
Durnhollow. We
Yeah.
can talk about... It's just...
All groups have done that on some level.
Yes.
I know Group 3 has probably done it, and I just overlooked it because it was me. I'm sure we've done it. I know we murdered an innocent elf at one point.
Drow children.
Drow children, fair enough, but to be fair, it wasn't because they were so weak that we could just kill them because we wanted to.
On your knees, little girl. That was said
Anyway, we're
in
moving
an early
along.
Group 3 episode.
Dude,
Anyway.
Al got to that episode recently, and we had to go, yeah, we fucking know. No, like, we can't take it back. It was one
It
of, like,
happened. Yeah.
dude, that was so awkward in the call. Anyway, no, I think Group 4 is perfect, and I don't know what you are saying, says Valerie. Yeah.
So, yeah, the entire point is make everything feel like combat is a
Mm-hmm.
thing that happens if there's no other recourse, not the first thing that happens out of the gate because you know you're going to win. And with a group like Group 2, and this is nothing against the players of Group 2, all of their characters are pretty
Right.
utilitarian. There's not a
They don't
flat-out
have a
tank
traditional,
or a healer.
traditional group. They don't have Hank, Tink, like, they're all everything,
Yeah.
but none of them, like, they're all ranged-based, fucking stat-based characters who put zones down and things like that. When there's one of those
lots
on a group
zones.
in 4th edition, that's fine. When there's an entire 5-player group of only characters who do status effects,
Yep.
fucking
It's the
combat
worst thing
takes
ever.
forever.
It is it is literally
Yeah.
hell. That is my version of
Are
it.
you going to use the monks from 5th edition? I doubt it.
I'm going to
They're
take a look
closer.
at them.
You said they were closer to what you envisioned Therian monks to be.
Yeah, the ones in 4E had nothing to do. It was much more like in my
It
head
was
it
like
was
a fast scion.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
In 4E, I didn't like it, and they even used like psionic abilities and stuff. I didn't like that. In 5E, it's more like a drunken master type thing. Like it feels more like
Yeah.
actual fist fighting and flurries of punches and stuff. And I
Are we
like
gonna
that.
have a traditional drunken monk at some point?
Maybe.
Because maybe I like that kind of thing.
I know you like that.
Maybe I like that trope. I don't know. Maybe I really enjoy fucking shitty kung fu movies every once in a while.
What's fun about 5E is we have a half-orc barb who's got a higher int than our wizard.
We, as far as rolling status rolls, we figured that one out where, like, we'll give people the choice of using the base stats that they say. Like, we're not going to let people have the 28 points and go crazy, because then people can just, like, oh, 20, and then 1, 1, 1, 3.
Yeah.
And that character will probably die because they deserve it, but, you know, we don't want to do that. Or they can roll, and rolling, you might get really lucky, or you might get really unlucky. So
Spark by Roadshow is terrible. Bo Raicho is terrible.
I don't think I've ever seen Bo Raicho.
Yeah, you have. He is the one heavyset character in Mortal Kombat, and he farts and pukes.
Oh yeah, the drunken monk guy. Yeah, no, not
what?
a fan.
It's just-
But Bob from Tekken, though. Guys, where's my phone? He's my wallpaper. Fucking Bob from Tekken, guys. Anyway.
Okay, we've been talking for over an hour,
We
so we should
have
probably
been,
wrap this up. Again, thank you guys so much. We're going to try to answer your questions.
How do you
the
feel
closer-
about 4E? Oh, that's fucking Merrick.
What is it?
That's
4E
Jasper fucking.
I'll take my answer on the air. Well, Jasper, you were there last night. How did it sound like I felt about 4E combat?
Oh man. Anyway, thank you guys so much for coming. We are really proud of what we're doing here, and we hope that you guys are excited for the next chapter of
Again,
everything.
one more time, everybody in the chat give a huge hand to everybody on the cast because they have all busted their ass this entire run. I really do think
I
that
just had
you're.
a flashback to that horror movie.
Oh God, I really do think you're gonna like the episode 200 and going into the new arc. We're really hoping to just take everything that we do and improve upon it.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for being here, and we'll see you. If you follow us, don't want to plug the stream too much, but if you follow us here, we play games on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're also doing a live GMT next week, and sometimes we just randomly do shit because we're bored. So
Yeah.
you could follow us here and see us more often, usually playing shitty video games, but also pretty soon we're going to be doing extended rest here. And we're going to take your questions live for the cast for the episodes that were posted that month. So now would be a great time to follow us so you don't miss any of those.
Yep. And one more time, if you want to, after episode 200 airs on the 13th of March, again, probably late night on the 12th, and you want to know how everything is going behind the scenes and what we're doing, you can follow us, patreon.com/DANDR, and you can chuck in $1. $1, and you can get behind the scenes content like a newsletter, and we'll tell you all about it. And we really appreciate all your support. And yeah, thank you so much. I think that'll do it for us.
That'll do it for us. Thank
All
you
right.
guys so
Thank
much
you,
for
guys.
coming. And we will catch you later.
Yeah. Thanks again for your feedback and helping us choose a new direction for the show. So, thank you guys. Bye.